What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Triple Threat Show. As always, I'm your host, Marif Temi, back at it on a Wednesday afternoon. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Back at it. Let's go right into it with the NBA. We're going to discuss everything that's going on. The Minnesota Timberwolves fall to the San Antonio Spurs last night. Victor Wembanyama with 27 points. 27 points and 11 rebounds. I don't know why I had to think about it for a sec. Dylan Harper coming with him, hitting some big-time buckets. We're going to dissect everything that happened in that one, go over the NHL as well. The Canadiens and Sabres are going back and forth once again. Sabres take Game 4 in Montreal. They actually won a game in Montreal. I thought I wouldn't see it, but the Buffalo Sabres heard all the noise, and they are right back into this series against the Canadiens. We're going to go up against everything with that, as well as everything that's going on in the NHL. We get the Avs and the Wild Game 5 tonight. Avalanche looking to close out that series in Game 5. As well as, what's the other game? The Vegas Golden Knights and Anaheim. That was last night. We'll go ahead and recap that one as well. A hero in that one, going out in the second period, coming back and hitting the overtime goal. Let's go over everything that went over there. NHL, NFL, you know what it is. It's Marif Temi. We're bringing in all the latest sports news. Drop a follow, drop a like. You can catch all recordings of these full shows on YouTube at the Triple Threat Show. And yeah, like I said, let's get right on into it. I want to start in the NBA. This is an NBA show. This is what we do every day, day in and day out. We're starting with the NBA, though. Spurs, Timberwolves, Game 5 last night in San Antonio. Victor Wembanyama makes his return against Naz Reid and those Timberwolves. He punked. He straight up punked them in Game 4. Gets ejected. Doesn't get a fine. Doesn't catch a suspension. Nothing. Comes out in Game 5 and absolutely starts lighting it up from outside. 27 points with 17, I said 11 rebounds, 17 rebounds for Victor Wembanyama last night. That is how you come back and dominate a game and say, you guys miss me? Your worst nightmare's back, buddy. The Minnesota Timberwolves have no chance against Wemby and this team. And it's not just because of Wemby. We'll get there in a sec. It's the fact that they can't. It's two reasons. The fact that they can't match up offensively. Their guards just do not match up against their guards. Straight up. The Timberwolves cannot match up against the Spurs guards. And that's something that I thought they would be able to attack and exploit in this series. The Trailblazers tried to do it in the last series, and they actually won one of those playoff games because of it. But the Spurs guards they're absolutely underrated. Everybody sees Wemby and they're like, oh, they have Wemby. They have a top 4 player in the league. But they forget the supporting cast around him. And as young as they are, they're stepping up and showing up in these moments. They're showing up when they need to. De'Aaron Fox is the leader of the group, the veteran from the Sacramento Kings that's been in these moments, that's been in the playoffs series before. He held a 3-2 series lead against Steph Curry at one point in 2023. We forget about that. That was the light the beam year for the Sacramento Kings. But this is a guy that's been in these situations. He knows how to show up in big games. Granted, the biggest games of his career, he's never been in the second round of a playoff series before, never mind possibly on the brink of getting to his first conference finals. But what De'Aaron Fox is doing and leading this group with Dylan Harper, with Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, this team is absolutely loaded from head to toe. And honestly, I didn't think anybody would be able to give the Thunder a run for their money. I know the Spurs beat them a couple times in the regular season, but the playoffs is a different beast. Wemby's never been in the playoffs. This team has never sniffed past the conference final. They haven't sniffed the conference finals since 2017. And if you guys remember 2017, that was Kawhi Leonard turning his ankle and Zaza Pachulia's leg when they were up by 20 points. That year. This is a Spurs team that's been knocking on the door for a long time, for a decade plus, to wait and be in this situation. They haven't been in this kind of a spotlight in years. And with a new head coach, with I think his name's Kevin Mitchell. I had his name in my brain before the show started. I just can't remember what it is now. But with the Spurs, with their youth, with a young head coach, with a young superstar in this league, international superstar, all the way around, it's unbelievable what this team is doing. Mitch Johnson. I said Kevin Mitchell, then I said Mitchell Robinson. It's Mitch Johnson. But with the Timberwolves just can't match up with them. Can't match up against the center, can't match up with their guards. The Spurs are just dominating the Timberwolves in every way. The Timberwolves want to make the game a slugfest, And they tried to in the first few games of this series. They did it in game 1. That's why they ended up winning game 1. Game 2, game 3, the Spurs shot it out insane from outside. 72% shooting percentage for Wemby in game 3. You're not going to beat that. I can give you a pass. Game 4. Game 4, you win game 4. That's the game that Wemby gets knocked out. You have or gets ejected for throwing that elbow to Naz Reid. And for this team to show up the way that they have, they get a little bit of momentum. The Timberwolves get a little bit of momentum going into a crucial game 5 in San Antonio. San Antonio slammed the door. They slammed the door on them hard in the third quarter. I bring up what the Thunder were doing against the Lakers in the third quarter in games 1 through 3. You can't just bring that up without bringing up what the Spurs did last night. I think it was 72 to 67. Yes, 72-67. Yeah, 6-7. And the Spurs proceeded to go on a 19-6 run. I mean, steals left and right, and it's all led by Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper playing on both ends of the ball. Luke Cornett with blocks. All of this without Wemby on the floor for most of the time. I mean, it is just a defense. It's on both sides. It's a defensive masterclass what the Spurs are putting on against the Timberwolves. It is. They're able to stifle Julius Randle. They're forcing them to beat them from outside, which the Timberwolves don't have a lot of legit three-point shooters. They might get lucky a few times. They might hit a couple. But generally, this Timberwolves team is not a three-point shooting team. They shot 27% from 3 last night. They took 33 of them. The Spurs only shot 34% as well. So neither of these teams shot really well. 52 to 38% from the field in favor of the Spurs. That's the game right there. And then, like I said, the turnovers. Just listen to this. Points off turnovers. 19-18. Steals 9-7. 8-4 on blocks. It's not really showing on the stat sheet. I thought it was going to more. But if you guys watched that game, it was in that third quarter, it was on full display what this guard group is for the Spurs. Stephon Castle showing up in big moments. I mean, just look at the stats. 27 for Wemby, 18 for D. Fox, 17 for Stephon Castle, 21 for Keldon Johnson, the 6th man of the year. Dylan Harper, a Rookie of the Year candidate, showing up with a double-double after putting up 24 points in Game 4, nearly beating the Timberwolves without Wemby. And he was the leading scorer, Dylan Harper, a rookie doing these kinds of numbers. It is just on everywhere you look. The Spurs just outplayed the Timberwolves. They're better, they're faster, they're bigger. Everywhere, their guards are bigger than the Timberwolves. I didn't think that was possible, but Stephon Castle is a 6'8 guard. Dylan Harper is a 6'4 guard. These guys are all just big. They're big, straight up. They're just big people. They're tall and they're lengthy guards. They're going to just sit there and body every one of those guards on the Timberwolves. Jaden McDaniels can't run with that. Naz Reid is sitting out there dribbling like he's a guard. Ayo Dosunmu is getting shut down by Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox. Anthony Edwards couldn't muster any offense in the last 2 games. He took 5 shots in the first half. 5. After this man dropped 32 points in Game 4. They just can't move. Ayo Dosunmu is getting shut down. Rudy Gobert is playing on an island, and he's doing the best that he can against Wemby. Him and Julius Randle. But they can't do it alone. And they might be able to do it collectively, trying to shut down one person. But if the other guards get going, every single time the Spurs touch the ball, and the third quarter specifically, because kind of I watched the second half, can you tell? Every time they had an offensive possession, the Spurs just found a wide open guy, whether it was Keldon Johnson, whether it was Dylan Harper, whether it was Stephon Castle, whether it was Harrison Barnes, whether it was Julian Champagnie or Devin Vassell being able to shoot from outside. They were able to find the open guy every single time. And when they found him, he's sitting there without anybody within 7 feet of him. He's just sitting there on an island by himself from outside, they're just sitting there knocking down 3-pointers. It's like shooting drills. That's literally what it was last night in the third quarter. I don't think Mitch Johnson is running circles around Alec Finch, because Alec Finch is a damn good head coach, and Mitch Johnson is still I think actually he's his second year. He's still a young head coach. This is his first playoffs. So you can't really say that it's Mitch Johnson that's running circles around Alec Finch. I also wish I was watching the series a little more closely, but if I did, I probably would have a better answer for you. It's not like what Nick Nurse was doing to Joe Mazzulla, but this is something that I think it's just a mismatch thing. I think the Spurs just have the mismatch every single time. And as well as the Timberwolves want to make it a slugfest, a scrap fest, just going out there and trying to play bully ball against them, trying to bully them, the Spurs just have the talent to just outplay them. And sometimes talent wins games. This time it's one of those cases. And the effort is behind them. This is a guy in Victor Wembanyama that wants to win so badly. His competitive spirit is like, you just sit there. He was crying after coming back from a 25-point deficit in the regular season. 25-point deficit. He was crying after the game. I mean, and then the way he came out last night after that elbow, after he got scrutinized by everybody in the media. I'm sitting here saying that he could lose his temper, he could lose his mind, this, that, and the other. Greg Popovich probably sat him down like, look, big guy, I know you want to throw a fist, I know you want to lose your mind, but you're the star player. You need to be out there and you need to show up for this team. Greg Popovich is very close to this team, still very close, and I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if he's sitting there talking to Wemby and giving him some advice and trying to coach him along. I wouldn't be shocked at all. You see him on the sidelines of almost every single game. The ones that he can't show up to because his health is failing. But that kind of a performance after that kind of after that coming back off of game 4 that you got ejected for throwing an elbow, and then you put up 27 and 17 in a game 5, in a decisive, crucial game 5. The Spurs are most likely going to close out this series in game 6. There is a world that Minnesota just shoots the lights out and Scott Foster, the series extender, shows up and does what he does. But this Spurs team is just too talented. Even if it goes to a game 7, I don't think this Timberwolves team can run with them. I just don't. Last night showed me enough that when the Spurs are firing on all cylinders, the Timberwolves can't touch them. They can't touch them. Not offensively, not defensively, nothing. Nothing they can do against a fully loaded and highly motivated Spurs team like the one that showed up in Game 5. And I think this series ends in Game 6. Game 6 isn't until Friday. Both from here on out, Game 6s and Game 7s, there's 2 series going on, will be on the same days, Friday and Sunday, if there's a Game 7 for both of these series. But let's switch gears over to the other one. There's only 2 series left. The Thunder have punched their ticket to the Western Conference Finals. The Knicks are sitting waiting for the other series to wrap up. They've already punched their ticket. Both teams sweep, Knicks and Thunder. Can the Cavs really steal Game 5 in Detroit? That series turns to Detroit tonight for Game 5. 8 o'clock tonight tip. The Cavaliers have been dominant. Absolutely were dominant in Cleveland. Every home team has won, I think, all of their playoff series. Well, maybe not all of them because the Pistons sucked at home against the Magic. But the Cavaliers winning all of their home playoff games through the first round and through the second round. Game 5 tonight in Detroit. Cleveland also hasn't won a road playoff game yet. They didn't win any of the games against Toronto. They haven't won against Detroit either. Big time game in the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. Cade Cunningham, after dropping 19 points with 6 turnovers, he's been a turnover machine in this series. Versus on the other side, you have Donovan Mitchell coming off of a 43-point performance, 39 points in the second half, tying a record for most points in the second half, almost outscoring the Pistons on his own in the third quarter. That's how good Donovan Mitchell was in Game 4. And you can bring up the free throws. It's a valid argument. It is absolutely a valid argument. But it's still just like, come on, man. You're really going to bring up, that's what you're going to bring up? Come on, man. But yeah, turnovers. Just listen to this. Throughout this series, for Cade Cunningham, Game 1, 4 turnovers. Game 2, 5 turnovers. Game 3, 8 turnovers. And then Game 4, 5 turnovers. He had a triple-double in Game 3, but they ultimately still lost that game because the James Harden step-back 3 iced the game. He also came out in Game 4 with 24 points, continuing his hot streak, starting the game red hot with 11 points in the first quarter. I thought he was going for 30 in this game, and he almost got there. Finished with 24. But it was, like I said, it was Donovan Mitchell that closed this game. It was James Harden in the first half, and then Donovan Mitchell just took them home. This is what Donovan Mitchell has been asking for years. He has been asking for a number two offensive threat to show up in the playoffs and be able to help him offensively, because for whatever reason, it is just the Donovan Mitchell show every time the playoffs roll around. Sometimes it's his fault, sometimes it's not his fault. He does have a guy in Evan Mobley, but they don't really have another bona fide scorer. Darius Garland was consistently getting hurt in the playoffs against the Celtics, against the Pacers. Consistently getting hurt. Until this year. They trade Darius Garland for James Harden. A lot of people said that was a little bit of a crazy move. A lot of people said that was a boneheaded move for the Cleveland Cavalier organization to trade for a guy like James Harden that's never even been to an NBA final, has the most wins for a player that's never won a championship, the playoff choker, James Harden, after showing up in Game 7 last year and for the Clippers and dropping 0 points in a Game 7. We already remember 2023 Game 7. We already remember 2017-2018 Game 7 against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. 2023 was against the Celtics when he was the Sixer. He is one of the worst playoff performers in the history of the NBA. He is one of those guys that crumbles when the moment shines brightest. It is always it is his MO. It is what he does. Game in, game out, day in, day out. But in this series, he's shown up. He didn't show up against the Toronto Raptors very well. I remember a few of those games. I don't remember stats off the top of my head. I wish I had a photographic memory. But like if we go through it, 24 points, going all the way back to the Raptors series, he had a couple games where he had 16 points, shooting 5 of 14. He had games where against the Pistons, Game 2, where he shot 3 of 13, 6 of 15 in Game 1. 6 of 15 is not as bad, but 3 of 13, 10 points. This is the type of stuff that we're talking about. 19 points, 18 points, 5 of 13, 19 points, 6 of 14. 6 of 14 is not as bad. But I mean, it's the inability to shoot when it matters most. He's coming off of a good game, so he's gonna need to show up in Game 5 tonight. And that's where I'm going with this. He's going to need to show up in Game 5 tonight if the Cleveland Cavaliers want to actually turn the tide of this series. If they want to capture the momentum and then actually close this series in Game 6. Because if the Cavs win Game 5 tonight, they will close this series in Cleveland. It is wraps for the Detroit Pistons. And I know I said that against the Orlando Magic, but this is a different team. The Orlando Magic didn't have the offensive talent. They had the defensive talent, but offense wins games in the playoffs. It's especially in the NBA. If you don't have the offense to come back up with the defense, to match with the defense, you're cooked. You're like a fish without food. That's what you are. All you can do is swim. You're just sitting there doing cardio. This Pistons team, their one issue is when they go up against a team that matches up with them offensively and gives them a run for their money offensively, they can't run a shootout. They can run with a scrum fest. If they have to just sit there and play defense until their offense gets hot, their offense will get hot. We've seen it in Game 2 against the Orlando Magic when they went on a 33-3 run. We've seen it in Game 7 or in Game 6 when the Pistons shot 0 of 24, or the Magic shot 0 of 24, had 0 points for 45 minutes. 0. And they just showed up there and went on a 27-4 run, absolutely erased a 28-point lead in the third quarter on the road in a Game 6 when they were down 3-2. And they forced a Game 7 off of that 28-point comeback. This Pistons team knows how to play offense when you give them time for their offense to load. But if you don't give them time, if you force them to play hurry-up ball, if you force them into tough shots, into what's the word? Not hurry up. I can't remember the word. Impulsive shots? That's not the word. Or impatient shots. If you force them into an impatient offense and you force them into situations where they have to think off the fly, because the other team is scoring buckets, this lead will explode. This is a turn. This is how runs happen. This is how games explode. If if you force them in those situations, the Pistons will crumble. Sometimes they're able to keep up, but in this series, they don't have the Cavs are keying in on stopping Cade. That is what their entire plan is. They're just sitting there and forcing everybody else to beat them outside of Cade, forcing him into traps, double teaming him every possession. The Cavs are forcing the Pistons to beat them without Cade, and it's borderline impossible when you're dealing with what Donovan Mitchell and James Harden bring to the table. If you don't have Cade to match up with those two guys, to at least go bucket for bucket with them, they can't keep up. Tobias Harris is not going to be able to keep up. Asher Thompson's one of the worst offensive players I've ever seen. Who are you going to rely on? Paul Reed? Duncan Robinson in his inconsistent self? Yeah, sometimes he might drop 20. The next game he'll drop 4. That's what he is. Duncan Robinson. He can't shoot consistently. He's one of the most inconsistent shooters in the NBA. I don't care what his shot percentage is. His shot percentage is good because sometimes he has unbelievable games that he can't miss. Then other times he can't buy a basket. This is just what he is. The Pistons are a team that is relying on their defense to win them games. And in this series, when you're relying on what the Cavs bring to the table, you are a sitting duck. Because this Cavs team can explode the way that they did in the second half of Game 4. They dropped 40 points in the third quarter of Game 4. And a lot of that has to be credited to Donovan Mitchell. Like I said, 39 points in the second half. Literally tied a record for a playoff record for most points in a half. He's incredible. He's one of the best talents in the NBA. He's a little bit overrated, but when his shot's falling, when you give him help, he is unbelievable. He showed his expertise, and he showed how good of a player he was in Game 4. And I didn't even mention the two big centers that they have in Jared Allen and Devin Mobley. Both of them combining for 25 points in Game 4. When you give up that kind of a game, you're not going to win. You are not going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers if you can't at least match up with them offensively. 103 points isn't going to get it done tonight if you're the Pistons. They need to go out there and at least shoot for 115. If they can't get to that mark, there's chances of success probably drop to like 35%, 25% out at home in Detroit. So, Pistons better be just sitting there and shooting practice and just trying to put up shots, trying to find a rhythm, trying to just get some scrimmages going, and trying to get some sort of offensive rhythm going with their guys. Because if they cannot, the Cleveland Cavaliers will sit there and blow them out of the water. Because they can't keep up. And this is a Cavs team that's running with momentum, winning 2 straight games at home, tying this series up at 2 games apiece, headed back to Detroit after getting embarrassed in the first 2 games in Detroit. They have an opportunity to just rewrite the entire book. Rewrite everything everybody has said about them. And they're going after it. This is Donovan Mitchell, and this is the closest that Donovan Mitchell has ever had to getting to an NBA championship, to getting to an NBA Finals. This is the closest he has ever been right now against this Detroit Pistons team. Tied at 2 games apiece. He has an opportunity to get to his first conference finals. He has an opportunity to go out there against the New York Knicks and shock them if he can get to the New York Knicks. But he has to get through the Pistons first. I'm rolling with the Cavs in Game 5. They have all the momentum, and the Pistons, like I said, offensively, they don't match up unless Cade Cunningham can go nuclear. Cade could go off for 40, and this would be the kind of game that he went off for 40. He's going to need to show up and drop 40 if they want any chance. I don't think he's dropped more than 25 in this series, maybe 27. His most is 27 in this series. So, good time. Tonight is a good night to change that. First 30-point game. First 40-point game since those games against the Orlando Magic, where you dropped 45 in Game 5, dropped 40 in Game 1, dropped 32 in a closeout Game 7, dropped 32 in a Game 6, coming back from down 25 points. This is the Cade that needs to show up and close out and show the Cleveland Cavaliers that they can't win this series. They can't get to Detroit and win because Cade is going to show up every time. That's all I got. I'm giving the nod to the Cavs, but let's switch over to the NHL because we also had some NHL series to go over. We had The Buffalo Sabres against the Montreal Canadiens, crazy. I still can't get over that Tage Thompson goal. Hitting it, goes flying up off and around the boards, and then sneaks off of the goaltender's uh, back hamstring pad. Hamstring pad. His quad pad, and into the back of the net. it's Jakob Dobes was shocked, absolutely shocked at what he saw. Sabres end up winning this game 3-2. If it wasn't for that goal, it would have been 2-2 going to overtime. But this is a Sabres team that showed up and actually beat the Montreal Canadiens in Montreal. There's nothing else to really say outside of that. They showed that they can beat Montreal in Montreal. And a lot of people want to say that Montreal had a lot of those calls, and they might be correct. Some of those referee whistles were insane. Some of those whistles that sent guys to the penalty box were just ridiculous. They're just ridiculous calls. You just cannot make those calls in a playoff game. But for the Sabres to go out there with putting Luukkonen back in net after Alex Lyon got 7 goals dumped on him in Game 1 or in Game 3, I mean, it just shows to what the Sabres can do. They're that good of a team, and I doubted them. I didn't think that they would be able to go into Montreal and actually beat this Montreal Canadiens team after the way that they showed in Game 3, after what Montreal brings to the table in Montreal. I thought that crowd would be too much for them. They had to go back there and revisit them in Game 6, but for now, the series switches back over to Buffalo for Game 5. Montreal's already won a game they already won Game 2. Both of these teams have now split on their home turf. Buffalo went 1-1 in Buffalo's first 2 games. Montreal went 1-1 in Games 3 and 4. I think this game, every Game 5, especially in a 2-2 series like this, the series just, it feels like a Game 7. Game 5 might be one of the most crucial games of the series when it comes to how series turn out. Because of this exact reason. It's a best-of-3 series now. The team that wins the next 2 games, 2 out of 3, wins the series and moves on to face Carolina in the Eastern Conference Final. If you ask me, I'm rolling with Montreal to go into Buffalo and steal this game. I think Montreal is that good offensively. But I also think Buffalo has a lot of momentum. Buffalo has all the momentum after stealing Game 4, going back to Buffalo, going back to their home crowd to welcome them back onto their home ice. To win Game 5, to send it back to Montreal for a Game 6, putting all the pressure back on Montreal. But Montreal might need to go in there and win Game 5. If they don't win Game 5, Buffalo might steal this series. Because I don't see Montreal winning Game 6 and Game 7 back in Buffalo. Both of those games, both of them is insane. Buffalo might have lost Game 3 because this is their first time visiting Montreal in the playoffs. And good luck your first time going into Montreal and being able to beat that team, especially with how young Buffalo is. But for Montreal to do it, both of these teams are incredibly young. Both of these teams are incredibly poised. Lane Hudson versus Tage Thompson. They're loaded on both sides. Incredible goaltenders. So it's just everywhere you look, both of these teams need to approach Game 5 like it's a Game 7. Whoever wins Game 5 honestly might win the series, I would say. Because there's no way the other team can go out there and win 2 straight games against the other team. I just don't see it. Buffalo can't do it to Montreal. Montreal can't do it to Buffalo. So all eyes turn to Game 5. I'll be back for Game 5 tomorrow to preview that one. We'll see how that one all goes. But we also had another game last night. Ducks and Vegas Golden Knights. This series has been incredible. Offense, like just nonstop and fast-paced offense with Jackson Lacombe and the Anaheim Ducks versus what Vegas brings to the table defensively. The Vegas Golden Knights defensively, outside of the Minnesota Wild, might be the best defensive team in these playoffs. Might be. They are that good defensively. They're locked down. They don't let Anaheim get shots on net. They just clamp them. They clamp them, and their goaltender is unbelievable for Vegas. A lot of people are hating on Vegas and hoping that they don't make it to the conference finals. Don't make it to another Stanley Cup final. Because, honestly, I don't really know why. A lot of people just think they play a little dirty. They play rough. They're definitely one of those teams that plays a little bit with a little bit of oomph to the end of it, a little bit extra physicality. They'll hit you a little bit harder. They'll get away with some calls, and yeah, but they also have a lot of goaltend. They have a lot of goal scorers on this team. Pavel Dorofeyev might be the most valuable of them. Jack Eichel is unbelievable, and I can't remember his name. Mark Stone is unbelievable as well on this team. Brandon Roy. They have a lot of players. Mitch Marner, Shea Theodore. They have guys that have been here since since they became an expansion team, since 2019 when they entered the NHL. But you can't tell me that Pavel Dorofeyev isn't one of the most valuable players on this team. He scores a goal in the first period. He scores the opening goal for this team, ties up the game at one goal apiece. Proceeds to get a puck to the knee, a 90-mile-an-hour slap shot taken right in the knee, can't walk, is helped off the ice, goes to the back, comes back like 5 minutes later, plays, I don't know how many minutes this man played, pretty much, he played at least 8 minutes, 9 minutes, in multiple shifts, of course, in the third period, proceeds to score the game-winning goal in overtime. The game-winning goal, the guy that got a puck to the knee, plays the entire third period, plays the overtime, and hits the game-winning goal. I mean, it's just unbelievable what he brings to the table for this team. And it's just the little things. It's the side goals, the goal scorers, the side goal scorers outside of the main ones, outside of the leaders of this team that step up big for the playoffs. This man, Pavel Dorofeyev, needs to get more credit than he's getting. He's an absolute stud with the puck on his stick. And, I mean, it speaks volumes of what he did last night. To go out there and win Game 5 the way he did. And like I said, the Anaheim Ducks know how to put the puck in the net. They're a damn good team. This team knows how to get it done in big moments. They go out there, they're down 2-1 in the third period. They score a game-tying goal to send Game 5 to overtime. Ultimately lost Game 5. But this is a team with a lot of promise. I thought they would be able to steal Game 5 and ultimately win this series, but with Vegas winning this game, I don't see Anaheim winning the next two. Maybe they win in Anaheim tomorrow night, but I think it's wraps Saturday. I think this series goes to the seventh game back in Vegas, and then Game 7 goes to Vegas. I just don't see Anaheim with the level of experience that Vegas has played with all playoffs long, going out there and beating Utah, going out there and dropping a three-goal game in Game 4 against Utah. Utah comes all the way back. 4-4 goes into overtime, and then Vegas wins that game. It's just their experience is on display time after time after time. And yes, they've had a little bit of a cakewalk if they get to the conference finals. They get through Utah, an expansion team, and Anaheim, who hasn't been to the playoffs in years. Granted, Anaheim beat Edmonton. But this is a Vegas team with a lot of promise. Unbelievable defensively. A lot of experience everywhere you look. And the team that they're going to be facing, because unfortunately we can talk about it. We'll talk about it in a second. But unfortunately, the other series is pretty much wraps. Game 5 between the Minnesota Wild and the Colorado Avalanche, wraps. I think the Avalanche absolutely destroy the Wild tonight. The Wild might go out there and try and put their foot down and be like, I'm not going down without a fight in first period. They might score the opening goal. But you're telling me Colorado's not going to show up in a closeout game with the way that offense plays? You're crazy. That offense is just too good. I just don't see Minnesota being able to go into Colorado and win that game. They had an opportunity in Game 1. They fumbled it. They came back from 3 goals down, tied the game at 4-4, took a 5-4 game lead. After that, I mean, four straight goals for the Colorado Avalanche after that in Game 1. Colorado rinses them in Game 2, 5-2. I think it was 3-1. Whatever it was. Beats them down pretty good in Game 2. Minnesota wins Game 3. Game 4 was the game that Minnesota needed to win. They had an opportunity. 3-2. You had the opportunity. The game was on your stick. You could have just... you could have just put the puck in the back of the net, but it's not that easy. It's just not. Not in playoff hockey, not especially against the Colorado Avalanche, as good as they are offensively. The Wild, I just don't see them being able to win this game. Maybe they do and they force Game 6, but even Game 6. Avalanche aren't losing 3 straight games. They're not. If they lose 3 straight games, the President's Trophy curse lives. And it's an absolute curse because this Avalanche team is that good to go ahead and win the entire thing. They're my pick to win the Stanley Cup because of how good they are, how loaded they are on every single level. Defensively, Cale Makar. Offensively, Nathan McKinnon. Power play, Nico Kadri. Can you tell I forgot his first name? Kadri on the power play. He's an absolute beast. They have Scott Wedgwood and Blackwood, even though both those guys are kind of mid. I like Wedgwood. I like Scott Wedgwood. But this Avalanche team is loaded head to toe with goal scorers on every level. Mikko Rantanen is also still on this team somehow. The Minnesota Wild have their work cut out for them for the rest of their series after dropping it. They're now down. They're down 3-1. That's a big reason why I'm saying the Avalanche are going to win this series now. So, give me the Avalanche to close out tonight, and that's it. But if Vegas goes on and wins this series, like I think they're going to, they're going to win this series in 7 games. Them against Vegas in Colorado is going to be a decent series. I would have loved to see Anaheim versus Colorado first, but it is what it is. It is what it is. We'll see what happens. I'm rolling with Colorado regardless of what happens. But that's all I got for the NHL. We could talk a little bit about the NFL. We saw a couple games get announced today, or yesterday, I should say. All the international games. Listen to this. Week 1, Rams and 49ers in Australia. We already knew that. Ravens and Cowboys in Week 3 go to Brazil. Colts and Commanders in London. Eagles and Jaguars in London. For whatever reason, the Jaguars love to play overseas. I don't understand. They also get back-to-back weeks this year. Once again, I think they also had back-to-back weeks last year. Get the Eagles in Game 5 and then get the Houston Texans in London. So they stay in London, enjoy the UK for a couple weeks before they have to get that time, deal with that time difference back for Week 7. Week 7 is France for the Steelers and Saints, Cincinnati Bengals and Falcons in Spain for Week 9, and then Patriots and Lions in Germany. Phenomenal matchup in Germany, by the way. I honestly think that might be the best game of this group. You also get the Vikings and 49ers in Mexico, but I think the most noteworthy ones, I think that means London's probably going to get a team in the next few years. I mean, this is something that they've been knocking on the door for a while, but Germany's consistently getting games now. And now London and Germany are the 2 biggest ones that I think if you're going to expand into Europe, those 2 teams love football. Outside of that, the only other country that I could see picking up an international football club, Australia. Australia already has rugby. Look at how big rugby is in Australia. One of the biggest sports. They finally go to Australia this year with the Rams and the Niners. It's going to be a phenomenal game. Phenomenal game. So, this is going to be an unbelievable slate of NFL games once again. NFL is already starting to sweep in. We get the schedule released tomorrow. I might do a schedule show on its own. Just fully breaking down my favorite teams, Patriots and Seahawks. And we'll go over there and talk about those. I've been a Seahawks fan ever since I was like 10 years old. I'm just from New England. So if I'm not a Patriots fan, low key, people, you can understand. It's New England, bro. You guys know what it is. If there's New England people in my chat, they'll tell you. But yeah, that's how we're probably going to do a full NFL schedule breakdown tomorrow and discuss everything there is to know. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot else to talk about. Red Sox fall to the Philadelphia Phillies last night, 2-1. What else is new? They get first game of 3 against this team. They get game 2 tonight of their series. I mean, maybe they'll win 1, but probably not. They'll win maybe 1. We'll see what happens. These are 2 teams that desperately need to turn their seasons around. Red Sox are the first team to pretty much dismantle their entire coaching staff, including their manager. And then the Phillies, pretty much a couple weeks later, fire their manager. So these are 2 teams, brand new managers, brand new identities, brand new locker rooms, brand new coaches, ready to go and turn their seasons around if they can. Phillies, 7-3 in their last 10. They've been phenomenal. Red Sox, 5-5 in their last 10. They continue to struggle at home in Fenway. 7-13 in Fenway are the Boston Red Sox. Yeah, this team's pretty rough. It's gonna be a rough year for the Boston Red Sox, unfortunately. But we stick with them. It is what it is. That's all I really got for you guys. Not a whole lot else going on. Yeah, drop a like, drop a follow. I'll be back tonight to try and recap. I'm try to recap at least either preview or recap one game every single night, every single day. Here on TikTok, YouTube, you can catch full recordings of these shows on the Triple Threat Show YouTube page. I go live every single day, or at least try to 5 days a week at least. Try to do 7, but it's more like 5 or 6. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.